Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. It's my absolute pleasure to welcome you all to Science North for what promises to be a meaningful and impactful announcement for our region and our province. We are honored to host today's event and thrilled to have many distinguished guests with us today, including the Honourable Stephen Lecce, Minister of Energy and Mines, Chris Scott, Parliamentary Assistant to the Minister of Energy and Mines, Paul Lefebvre, Mayor of Greater Sudbury, Nadia Mikachuk, and President and CEO of Merarco, and I see a number of our industry colleagues and friends in the audience today. Welcome to you all. To start this gathering off in the right way, I'd like to acknowledge that Science North and Dynamic Earth are situated on the traditional and ancestral lands of the Atekmeksheng Anishinaabeg and Wanapitei First Nation in Robinson-Huron Treaty Territory. As an organization, we're grateful to work with First Nations across Northern Ontario, and we give thanks to the Indigenous peoples who have cared for this land since time immemorial. We pay respect to their traditions, their ways of knowing, and their many contributions to science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, both past and present. At Science North, we're committed to deepening engagement and partnerships with Indigenous communities, advancing truth and reconciliation, honoring Indigenous knowledge, creating economic opportunities, and inspiring all people to connect with science and the world around them. For those of you who are visiting us from outside Greater Sudbury, welcome, bienvenue. I hope you'll have a chance to also explore Dynamic Earth, our sister site, located just a few minutes away. It's home to Canada's only underground science centre and a hub for telling the story of mining in Northern Ontario, past, present, and most importantly, future. Today's announcement reflects the bold steps Ontario is taking to lead in the global critical minerals economy. And while the focus is rightly on innovation and investment, allow me a moment to reflect on what comes before that: inspiration. At Science North and Dynamic Earth, we see ourselves as the first step in your workforce development pipeline. We engage with tens of thousands of students and young visitors every year, many of them getting their first glimpse into careers in mining, engineering, and clean technology. Whether they're donning a hard hat for the first time in our underground tour, experimenting in our labs, or meeting real scientists and engineers, they begin to imagine their place in this industry. Before there's talent in this important sector, there's curiosity, and that's where we come in. We're proud to help spark that early interest and play a part in developing the next generation of innovators, engineers, and problem solvers who will drive this sector forward. It's now my pleasure to introduce someone who really champions the advancement of Ontario's mining and energy sectors. Please join me in welcoming Minister Stephen Lecce, Minister of Energy and Mines, to the podium.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much. It's an honor to be back at Science North. Indeed, you do inspire young minds. My own nieces have been touched by the impact of this amazing institution. They proudly wear their Science North hoodies each and every week. And it's good to be with my parliamentary colleagues. I do want to again recognize Chris Scott, who's newly elected in Sault Ste. Marie, a Northern boy, who's proudly representing this community in a region that is really important in the critical chain, the critical mineral supply chain that is being built out in his community. As well, Bill Rosenberg, newly elected in Algoma, Manitoulin. He, like my other colleague, Chris, and I, all of whom are committed to the Canadian resources, and we have experience in the space, and we couldn't be here today without the mayor, who's played a really important role in really promoting Canadian minerals to the world. And so we're grateful for your leadership, sir, and all the work you're doing. I want to thank Nadia, the CEO and President of Mining Innovation Rehabilitation Applied Research Corporation, the chair in biomining, and likewise bioremediation and science communication, Laurentian. She's doing really important work. And of course, our host, Ashley LaRose, thank you so much for your welcome. We are here with a critical mass of stakeholders to really profile the ongoing work to take on the challenges in this critical minerals race. Just some days ago, the President of the United States announced another intention to impose tariffs on copper and on additional critical minerals affecting our economy and many other Western nations. And that's why we're here, back in Sudbury, in sort of the heart of mining expertise and leadership in Canada, to double down on our commitment to get Canada's responsibly sourced resources out of the ground, processed, creating those value-added jobs here at home. But in order to do that, we've got to be intentional about speeding things up, working with community, and obviously embracing technology and innovation along the way. In the last 90-odd days as your Minister of Mines, it has been a dynamic time. We've been busy at work. For Chris and I in the ministry specifically, but working with Bill and others, we have really rolled up our sleeves. In the first 30 days, we introduced legislation. One project, one process. We codified into law a concept that every government in Canada of all parties is advancing. One project, one process, one service standard that moves permits through the enterprise of government, removes the bureaucracy, and allows certainty for your investment dollars, because we are very much trying to attract these investments when we're up against President Trump and so many others. So that project, that initiative will cut permitting times by 50%. That is the most nimble regulatory system that we will know in the G7. It'll be faster than the European Union, who will approve a permit for a mine at roughly 27 months. In Ontario, our future state is 24. And that plan is to implement this one project, one process vision by the fall of this year, which I think really underscores to you that we are stepping up to meet the moment. We also announced some days after that a $500 million investment in critical mineral processing. Very important, Sudbury, of course, being the heart of much of that processing in Ontario. We want more value-added jobs in Ontario. We want to repatriate jobs back to the province. We want to compete and fight for every single job in the sector to stay or invest in Ontario to create more. And that's why it was really important we launched this program, a 3-year program investment, something that's been well articulated by Ontario Mining Association and others who've been calling on government to get in the game to incentivize processing in the province, to do more of what we already do, and end this ripping and shipping of Canadian resources into the US or the European markets only for us to buy it back at a premium, and that will end. And so we announced that. We also announced another intake of a junior exploration program to help our juniors get out there and to discover the next big mine and the big discovery of our mineral resources. But today we're taking another step forward in the embrace of technology and innovation and research and development, because we recognize we need made in Canada solutions to the challenges we face in the sector. And if we want to be competitive, if we want to give a competitive advantage to Canadian industry and to our miners, to our workers and our communities, then we've got to embrace tech. And that's why we are here today, to announce the Critical Minerals Innovation Fund will be expanding. We're adding additional investment. And we're launching it today, welcoming applications between today and October 1st so that we really embrace Made in Ontario projects that will drive innovation, that will help grow our critical mineral sector and secure our leadership in the world. This fund is open for private sector businesses. They can partner with independent academia, with nonprofits, and of course with Indigenous communities, all of which is to help leverage more knowledge, innovation, and technological development in spaces that strengthen battery supply chains, develop the next generation of exploration and mining techniques and innovative techniques that also support deep exploration, and the advancement of recovery of valuable minerals from mine waste, and finally, advance the breakthrough ideas that keep Ontario at the forefront of the space. And so this is an offering of $500,000 up to that amount, covering no more than 50% of these projects. And we've had success. I mean, this program has been launched. There's been numerous examples or case studies of success, over 20 projects that are making a difference here in Northern Ontario and across the province. I will conclude with this. In a world where the choice often is binary for us as Canadians, either we step it up to get our critical minerals to the world, that we work with speed to ensure Canadian resources prevail, or we sit back and we allow the status quo to carry forth, where it takes 15-odd years to open a mine, where it takes over a decade to get permits to process a mine. Or we recognize that the world is changing, geopolitics has changed, our national security interests have changed, and thus we've got to change with the market and move with speed. And that's why I believe the Premier at the Councils of the Federation just yesterday, over the past few days, demonstrating national unity, bringing provinces of different parties together under one mission, which is to get the most responsibly resourced, ethically resources on Earth out of the ground into the world. And I feel like that leadership and that unity is what's going to keep our country strong and our economy growing in this moment. So I'm grateful to him. I'm grateful to the partners behind me. And I'm also grateful to the Parliamentary Assistant because he is new to the elected side of government, but not new to government. He's been in this space, worked with members of cabinet, and recognizes how to move projects down the road. And today we're here launching this program because we recognize we got to do more. And Chris Scott has been at the forefront of urging government to step it up for the benefit of Northerners so that we are more self-reliant, that we are able to look to Canadian innovations to solve our challenges and end dependence on the US or anyone else. And so with that, I thank you and I welcome the Parliamentary Assistant, Chris Scott. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Minister Lecce, and great to be back in Sudbury. Good afternoon, everybody. It's really great to be here, and thank you for joining us at this really exciting moment for our province and for our future. As the Parliamentary Assistant to the Minister of Energy and Mines, I have the privilege of working alongside a team that is deeply committed to building a strong, resilient, and competitive Ontario, one that leads not only in resource development, but in global innovation and sustainability. In today's rapidly changing economic landscape, few sectors are as essential or as full of potential as the critical mineral sector. These resources power the batteries in our electric vehicles, the devices in our pockets, and the technologies that drive clean energy across not only our province, but around the world. Ontario is uniquely positioned to lead in this space. We are home to a wealth of natural resources, world-class research institutions, and a growing network of companies ready to transform how we mine, process, and build critical minerals. We're in Sudbury, obviously. For me, it's the second day here. Got the privilege of bringing Minister McCarthy, our Minister of Environment, around and showing him what makes Sudbury so special, what makes Sudbury, such a leader in this space, and we were just chatting. I was with him. We just left the Craig mine over at Glencore earlier this morning to get here, and I left him with a real fire in his belly that Sudbury is the epicenter of everything that mining can be in the world when Canada leads. We are, not shying away from our past, and in fact using it as the case study and example of what's possible when we have industry-led in partnership with community, with the right partnerships with Indigenous communities, and with an environmental sustainability lens. If not us, then really who? And as many of you know, global demand for these critical minerals is only going up. With recent developments such as the rising US tariffs and increasing pressures on international supply chains, Ontario's role in securing a stable domestic supply has never been more important. With partners like Mine Connect, we're also seeing communities like Sault Ste. Marie, which is steel town that I represent, all of a sudden be more critical to the supply chain. You need a lot of steel, you need a lot of concrete every time you open up a mine, and I was encouraged. The first time I came to Sudbury, I was advised that there was a Mine Connect event happening later in the Sioux. I stopped in and I saw a growing number of companies that benefit from mines in our area. So it's one of those higher tides rise all ships moment, and that's exactly why our government is taking action. We're strengthening our position as a leader in the critical mineral development, and we're doing it by working in partnership with industry, with communities, and across the province. Today's announcement marks the next step in that journey, a step focused on encouraging the kind of research, development, and commercialization that shape the future of mining right here in Ontario. Together, we are laying the groundwork for a stronger, more secure, and more sustainable economy for Ontario and for future generations. Thank you. It's now my pleasure welcome Mayor Paul Lefebvre, an absolute champion of the North and a champion of this community. It's always great to see him. He's on this side, actually, every time I come here. So feel kind of, as the rookie elected person, being sandwiched between these two guys is a pretty tough day, but hopefully I did all right, Minister. And over to you, Paul.
Thank you so much, Chris. It's always great to be at Science North, Canada's largest science center, and and also with the best talent around, with the blue coats and everything that we do. See some kids in the hallway, summer camps. This place is packed. People are learning. We're so proud of what's going on in our community. And thank you, Ashley, for your leadership at Science North. Minister, it's always a pleasure to have you here. And certainly when you're talking about how important critical minerals are, how important Sudbury is to that facet for our country, not only for the area, and not only for Ontario, but for the country and the world as well. And P.A. Scott, you know what? I think you took some notes from my notes because you were promoting Sudbury in there. This was music to my ears. It's fantastic that we have a provincial government that believes in mining, that believes in critical minerals, and understands the importance of it, just not for our area, just not for jobs, for global security, and the fact that we have to create those supply chains, yes, in Ontario, but then we need to export around the world. And we are pros of that. That is what the backbone of Sudbury is. We are some of the best in the world that live here, and certainly that invest here, that want to keep growing. We have over 300 mining supply firms. I see Marla's here, that employ over 14,000 people locally and generating approximately $4 billion in annual exports. Little known fact that when you look at the mining sector in Ontario, over half of the GDP that it creates for our province is actually created here in the Sudbury area. Another little known fact is the contribution per capita to the GDP of Ontario. When we look at municipalities, actually Sudbury is ranked 4th in Ontario to the contribution of per capita per GDP. That's because certainly of the world-class institution, the companies, and our post-secondary sector. I see folks, friends from Cambrian College, Collège Boréal, Laurentian University as well. Thank you for being here and to support this announcement. And if you're looking for the latest in mining technology or thinking about establishing a presence in this industry, obviously you should be looking. If you're not already here in Sudbury, you should be looking at Sudbury. But for this industry to stay competitive on the global stage, especially in the face of uncertainty and new terror threats, we need to innovate. We need to lead. That's why today's announcement of new funding through the Critical Minerals Innovation Fund is so important. And this is a fund that is contributing in addition to other funds. And I know the Minister that you talked about the processing fund for more refineries in our province, and this is so exciting as well. I don't think I ever had a chance to publicly thank you for that because it goes a long way. $500 million to ensure that we process our minerals and metals that we create in Ontario as well. And that will go a long way. So this type of innovation fund complements that so well. And that's why when it all comes together, it's about creating jobs, prosperity for all in our own city, in our province, and in our country, in the world. So it's clear and a welcome signal that the province is serious about supporting the future of mining. Investments like this help our companies grow, scale, and stay ahead of the curve. They attract top talent, engineers, geologists, skilled tradespeople, and tech professionals who are building careers and lives right here in Northern Ontario. They boost our ability to export even more of our made in Sudbury innovation to global markets. Obviously, as Mayor of Sudbury, I'm talking a lot about Sudbury, but this contributes to all of the North, and actually to all the province. And I know we have Bill Rosenberg, the MPP for Algoma Manitoulin. These investments will benefit all across our province, from the Northwest, the Northeast, and to the South. That's why it's important that we celebrate those together. And certainly these investments boost our ability to export even more of our made in Sudbury, made in Ontario innovations to global markets. And they create good-paying jobs, generate long-term investment, and help protect Ontario's economic sovereignty. And I know the Premier, actually, I saw him last night in Deerhurst at the Council of Federation, and his comments to the crowd was like, we need to work together. They had all the premiers of all the provinces in the room, and his message is the time is now for Canada to work together, certainly reduce the trade barriers and ensure that our natural resources are at the forefront and made to export around the world, and certainly to invest as much as we can in our own provinces as well as together across our country. Because these are good paying jobs, generating long-term investments, and ensuring that the future such as batteries, semiconductors, clean energy technologies, and so much more, depends on the minerals we have right here in Northern Ontario and the know-how we have in Greater Sudbury. So we're ready to lead from exploration to processing, from research and development to commercialization, to help build a resilient, made-in-Ontario supply chain our province and our country and the world needs. So thank you again, Minister, to the province of Ontario, recognizing the value of the sector, to your team, to your other MPs that are here with you today. We are just delighted that you chose Sudbury to make this special announcement, and we're always happy to have you here anytime you want to come back. Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much.
Annie, bonjour, good afternoon. I'm Dr. Nadia Mikachuk, CEO and President of Morocco Mining Innovation and Executive Director of the Goodman School of Mines at Laurentian University. It's an honor to be here today amongst many of the regional champions that have made funding possible for mining innovation. As part of the mining critical minerals ecosystem that is helping secure Canada's economic and environmental future, as a previous recipient of the CMIF funding with partners at Vale Base Metals, we are bolstered to hear that the Minister is announcing a new round of critical minerals innovation funding. This program is helping accelerate the development and commercialization of made-in-Ontario technologies, exactly the kind of innovation needed to strengthen and secure our supply chains. Last year, with the support of CMIF and in partnership with Vale Base Metals, we advanced work on processing pyrrhotite tailings, unlocking value from mine wastes that can drive battery metal production, including nickel, cobalt, and copper, while also addressing environmental legacy issues and moving towards zero-waste solutions. The CMIF funding was also key to securing federal funding support, and it's exactly that kind of example that allows us to look at collaborative funding approaches to really drive Canadian-made investment and solutions that are sustainable, scalable, and exportable to other mining jurisdictions, not only in Canada, but in the world. Ontario is uniquely positioned to be a fully integrated critical minerals hub, but that future depends not only on what we extract, but how we innovate. And it starts here at home, connecting the right people, building these solutions together. So Morocco, of course, is not doing this alone. We are proud to be working with multiple partners like Vale Base Metals, but also with SMEs like Backtech Environmental, government researchers at CanMet Mining, and training our future workforce with students from Laurentian University, Cambrian College, and even the University of Toronto. Together, we can pilot technologies, moving them from the lab and into mine sites. These collaborations, backed by strong government support like the CMIF, are what make progress possible. As we build towards a clean energy transition, we must also ensure that we don't repeat past mistakes. That means tackling legacy challenges and embedding sustainability in everything that we do, so that we can create clean technologies of tomorrow that are rooted in innovation and change the concept of things like waste, like mine tailings, into resources that can fuel a greener future. Thank you again to the Minister and the Ministry of Mines and Energy for your vision and continued support. Thank you to our many partners that are here in the room, especially Vale Base Metals, and to all of our hardworking teams that can make Ontario a global leader in critical minerals. Merci, thank you, miigwech.
We will now open the floor to questions from the media. As a reminder, it's one question, one follow-up. We will start with our first reporter.
Hi, Angela from CTV. I believe you said there were 20 projects or innovations from the 2022 funding. Obviously, that was before this trade situation. Are you expecting more innovations or more companies, more applications is the word I was looking for, this time around?
I certainly think this is a program that attracts a ton of interest because we allow flexibility. Private companies can work with academic institutions. They can drive this innovation themselves. They can work with Indigenous-run businesses. Our idea is to scale up, which is why we're adding additional funding and making a commitment to maintain this program, not just for this year, but for the year to come. We're doing that because ultimately innovation is what's going to drive down costs. It's going to increase competitiveness and the productivity of our mines, and we see this as a value add. And so it's a small enabling investment for a large return on investment for the taxpayer. And I think for the Premier, the obligation, the commitment we made to the workforce, not just to the industry, but to the workers, the families, the people who depend on our minds, the 30,000+ Canadians in Ontario alone that are directly employed because of the mining sector. With the increase of tariffs, the rise of Chinese market manipulations trying to undermine Canadian and Western interests, values, hegemony, and obviously our industry, I think it's very important that we have significant funds on the table to incent more processing, as we've done just some months ago, and now to encourage or incentivize more innovation and the commercialization of those ideas so that we can bring them to the marketplace and that they can actually add value. The case study you just heard with Vale is a really neat example of research and the private sector coming together for social good. It will preserve the environment, which is important for all Canadians, particularly in the north, but it actually reduces costs and thus makes these mines more competitive. So the answer in short is yes, that we're going to be doing more of this. Expect to see the government continue to step up, roll out with a sense of ambition so that we can compete and our workforce could be not just preserved, that we could actually grow and hire more good paying jobs in the province of Ontario. Thank you. Okay.
If any more questions from media? Okay, that concludes our press conference for today. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. Thank you all.